You step through the great oak door and into the castle's kitchen, and the world outside feels as though it has drifted far, far away. Behind you, the corridors stretch long and silent, lined with tapestries that stir faintly in the chill air, lit by torches whose flames waver against the ancient stones. But here, inside this room, there is warmth and there is stillness, and there is a sense that time itself has grown drowsy, folding its arms and leaning into the glow of the hearth. The door eases closed behind you with a sound like a soft sigh, the iron latch settling into place, and suddenly the hush of this space surrounds you like a thick woolen cloak. Everything here feels heavy with years, but not in a way that presses on you. It is the weight of permanence, of things that last, of stones that have held the same quiet for centuries and will go on holding it for centuries more. The walls are vast and thick, their blocks of limestone bearing the faint chisel marks of long-forgotten hands. They curve gently at the corners, their edges softened by age, and they rise so high that the ceiling seems almost to vanish into shadow. Dark beams of oak cross above your head, thick as tree trunks, charred here and there by smoke from fires that have burned for generations in this very room. From those beams hang bundles of herbs, each tied with twine, their colours faded to muted greens and browns. Sage and thyme, rosemary and bay, their leaves curled and papery, their fragrance whispering in the air like the last echoes of summer. When the air stirs, they turn slightly, their brittle stems rustling with a sound so soft it could almost be imagined, like dry fingers brushing against silk. The floor beneath your feet is stone, each slab broad and uneven, worn to a glassy smoothness in the centre where countless feet have passed. They feel cool even through the soles of your shoes, a coolness that carries deep into your bones, though not unpleasantly. It is the coolness of cellars and mountain streams, the coolness that makes the warmth of the hearth seem all the richer. And the hearth, it is the first thing your eyes are drawn to, the heart of the room, the heart of the castle itself. It yawns wide in the far wall, framed by an arch of darkened stone, its edges soot-stained by centuries of flames. Inside, the fire burns low and slow, its coals glowing like rubies beneath the dark bellies of logs that rest half-consumed in ash. The flames themselves move lazily, curling and dipping, their light spilling across the floor in wavering ribbons of gold and red. Every now and then, a log shifts with a soft, crackling sigh, sending up a little fountain of sparks that flicker briefly before fading back into the shadows. The air is thick with warmth near the fire, a warmth that smells faintly of smoke and something older, something like the breath of the stones themselves. Beneath that scent lies the whisper of bread, yeasty and soft, as though a loaf has only recently been drawn from the oven. And there are other scents too, weaving through the quiet, the sharp green note of herbs, the mellow sweetness of apples resting in their baskets, the faint spice of something ground long ago but still lingering in the wood of the shelves. It is a fragrance that seems to belong not to this moment alone, but to the memory of the place itself, as though the kitchen has been breathing it out for centuries, a gentle perfume of all the meals ever made, all the fires ever tended, all the nights just like this one when someone sat quietly and let the world fall away. Your eyes wander slowly across the room, taking in its shapes and shadows. There is a long wooden table at its centre, hewn from planks so wide they could only have come from the oldest of trees. Its surface is scarred with the marks of knives, with the little hollows worn by bowls set down again and again. Time has darkened the wood to a deep, rich brown, polished to a low sheen by countless hands. Along one edge sits a row of stools, low and sturdy, their legs uneven from centuries on the same stones. One of them bears a cushion, flattened and faded to a colour that might once have been blue, but now is the shade of soft twilight. There is a quiet dignity to these things, to their endurance, to the way they have served and lasted, unchanging in a world that changes endlessly beyond these walls. On the shelves that line the walls, pewter plates catch the light from the fire in dull flashes, their rims softened by wear. There are pots too, squat and blackened, their bellies rounded like old stones, copper pans whose surfaces bloom with the patina of age, jars stoppered with wax, their contents glinting darkly, honey perhaps, or preserves from summers long gone. In one corner stands a tall cupboard, its doors of oak bound with iron straps, the wood carved with patterns that have grown almost shapeless with time. Its handles are smooth from generations of touch, and when you draw near, you can feel the coolness of the metal beneath your fingers, a coolness that seems to run deep, as though it were not iron, but shadow itself. You turn toward the hearth again, drawn by its glow, and as you cross the room, your steps sound softly in the stillness, a rhythm that seems to echo faintly in the stones. You imagine that echo running out beyond these walls through corridors lined with tapestries and torches, down stairways that spiral like shells, across halls where the air lies heavy and waiting. The castle sleeps tonight, as it has slept for centuries, its dreams held in the silence of its stones, in the hush of its high vaults, in the endless patience of its shadowed rooms. Perhaps far above, the wind moves over the battlements with a voice like a low chant, threading through the crenellations, rattling the iron rings of doors. Perhaps beyond the moat, the trees bow in the darkness, their leaves whispering secrets to the still water. But here, none of that touches you. Here, in the heart of the castle, there is only the slow pulse of the fire, the soft drift of warmth against your skin, the quiet weight of peace that sinks deeper with every breath. You settle onto one of the stools now, the wood hard but reassuring beneath you, the edge of the table cool beneath your fingers. You let your hands rest there, splayed lightly, and you look into the hearth as though it were a living thing, as though it might speak if only you were quiet enough, still enough, long enough. The flames move lazily, bending and straightening, their light crawling over the stones, painting them in colours that shift and soften and fade. You could watch them for hours. Perhaps you will. Time does not seem to move here, or if it does, it moves like water in a deep pool, circling without hurry, without sound. You breathe in, and the air tastes faintly of wood smoke, of ash, of something sweet and far away. You breathe out, and the sound of it joins the hush, so soft that even the fire does not seem to notice. Your gaze drifts to the things nearest you, a bowl of flour, pale as snow, its surface smooth and waiting, a jug of water, cool and heavy, its handle worn to silk by touch, a bundle of herbs tied with string, their leaves brittle, their scent sharp and clean. You could rise and work with them if you wished, knead the dough, shape the loaf, lay it near the hearth to rise. But you do not move. You do not need to. The thought is enough, the knowing that you could, that the room would hold you in its rhythm if you chose, that the castle would keep its patient watch as you worked. That is the way of this place. It asks nothing, it expects nothing, it gives only stillness, only the soft assurance that here you are safe and nothing beyond these walls can touch you. The wind outside rises now, just a little, just enough to slip its fingers beneath the eaves and draw a sigh from the shutters. You hear it as a murmur, distant and low, a voice speaking in a language too old for words. It moves along the stones and then it fades again, leaving the silence deeper than before, as though the castle has drawn its breath and let it go in one long, slow exhale. You feel the weight of that exhale in your own body, in the slackening of your shoulders, in the loosening of the muscles along your spine, in the heaviness that steals softly into your limbs. You let it come. You let it stay. You let yourself sink into the hush like a stone sinking into water, slow and sure and without end. And so you sit and the fire burns, and the shadows dance, and the old stones keep their quiet vigil. Beyond these walls the night moves on, the stars wheel above the dark, the wind combs the hills, the moat lies black and still beneath the sky. But none of it matters here. None of it can break the spell of this room, this moment, this pause in the turning of the world. You are here. You are safe. You are held in the deep, patient hands of the castle, and it will not let you go. You sit for a time, though time itself feels soft and shapeless like mist curling through the air. The fire hums quietly to itself, its voice low and steady like the heartbeat of the castle. And then, slowly, you rise, not because the stillness has ended, but because it draws you onward, as though the castle wishes to show you more of its quiet heart. Your steps are slow, unhurried, each one falling with a muffled sound upon the stones. The air holds the warmth of the hearth, but you know that beyond the kitchen, the corridors will be cooler, steeped in shadows and silence. Still, the thought is not unsettling. It is simply the way of things here. The warmth and the coolness, the light and the dimness, the sound and the hush, they all belong, each in its turn, each holding its place, as though the castle itself is breathing in and out. You move past the table, your fingers brushing its edge, and you glance once more at the rows of shelves, at the herbs hanging in their stillness, at the bowls and jars that seem to slumber where they stand. Then you draw open the door, its iron latch cold and solid in your hand. It yields with a muted groan, the sound deep and rounded, as though it comes from the bones of the castle itself. Beyond lies a passage, its walls of stone that glow faintly in the spill of firelight from the kitchen. The light stretches only so far before it thins and falters, leaving the rest in shadow. The air beyond is cool, as you knew it would be, cool and carrying the scent of stone and something else, something, like damp earth perhaps, or the memory of rain. You step into it, and the hush deepens, folding around you like water closing over a pebble dropped into a still pool. The passage runs straight for a time, its floor laid with the same worn stones as the kitchen, though narrower, closer, its ceiling low and ribbed with beams that seem to crouch like sleeping beasts overhead. You trail your fingers along the wall as you walk, feeling the slight give of mortar between the blocks, feeling the age in the very texture of the stone. Once perhaps voices rang here, the voices of servants carrying baskets, the clatter of boots, the rattle of pails. But now there is only the soft sound of your own steps, the faint whisper of your breath, and the occasional creak from timbers high above where the castle settles into the night. You come to another door, heavy and dark, bound with iron straps that gleam dully in the dimness. You press against it, and it swings inward with the slow grace of something that has done this for centuries. Beyond lies the buttery, a long, low room where the air is cooler still, and faintly scented with casks and salt and the sharp tang of aged cheese. Your eyes wander over the rows of barrels stacked along the walls, their hoops blackened, their wood burnished by countless hands. The floor here is smoother, glistening faintly with a sheen of dampness, for the buttery lies close to the earth, where the coolness lingers. You imagine, for a moment, the soft drip of water somewhere far off, deep in the foundations of the castle, where unseen stones drink from unseen springs. The sound does not come, but you can almost hear it in the hush, a rhythm beneath all others, the slow pulse of the castle's roots reaching into the soil. On a shelf near the far wall rests a row of pitchers, their bellies round, their necks slender, their clay marked with the thumbprints of the potters who shaped them long ago. You lift one gently, feeling the weight of it in your hands, the coolness of the clay seeping into your skin. You set it down again with care and the sound is soft, a hollow thump that seems to echo faintly, as though the walls themselves were listening. The thought is not strange to you. Here, everything listens, not with ears, but with age, with presence, with the slow, deep patience of things that have seen centuries pass and have learned to keep their own counsel. You linger for a time, your breath rising in faint clouds in the cool air, your fingertips brushing the curved staves of barrels, the coarse grain of sacks filled with flour, the rough weave of cloth that covers them. Then, as before, the quiet draws you onward. There is another door at the far end, smaller than the last, its surface dark with the oils of countless hands. You press it open, and a faint draught meets you, cool and carrying a whisper of something green. Perhaps the scent of herbs stored for winter, perhaps the distant breath of the castle gardens far above. You pass through, and the buttery falls behind, its hush folding in upon itself, leaving you in a passage once more, narrower than before, its walls rising close on either side like cliffs of stone. The light here is softer still, no torches burning, only the thin gleam of moonlight filtering through a slit of a window high above, so high you can scarcely lift your gaze to see it. The light lies pale upon the floor, a fragile ribbon that seems almost to shiver in the stillness. You move through it slowly, and for a moment it touches your hand, silver and cold, before slipping away. Beyond, the darkness gathers again, thick and velvety, but not unfriendly. It feels like a cloak drawn close about the shoulders, a cloak that carries the scent of stone and earth and the faintest breath of wood smoke drifting from some unseen chimney far above. Your steps bring you at last to the storeroom, and here the air is different again, not as cool as the buttery, but touched with the dryness of grains, with the sweetness of apples, with the mellow scent of onions braided and hung from the rafters. You draw a slow breath, and the fragrance settles deep inside you, warm and grounding, like the memory of autumn fields beneath a pale sun. The room is long and low, its shelves laden with sacks and baskets, with earthenware jars and bundles of herbs that dangle like faded garlands in the dimness. You run your fingers lightly along the edge of a shelf, feeling the dust that lies like a veil, soft and undisturbed. No one has hurried here in many days. No one has broken the stillness with the clang of lids, the thud of sacks, the scrape of wooden spoons. It is as though the room has been waiting for you alone, holding its breath, keeping its secrets. You pause before a basket filled with apples, their skins dull gold and russet, their scent faint but sweet, like a whisper of orchards long past. You lift one and feel its weight, its coolness, the smoothness of its curve beneath your palm. For a moment you think of biting into it, of tasting that quiet sweetness, but the thought drifts away like smoke in wind. Instead you set it down again, and the sound of it settling is small, almost tender, as though the fruit were sighing back into its rest. Nearby, a row of jars gleams faintly, their bellies filled with honey the colour of amber, thick and still, catching what little light there is like drops of frozen sun. You imagine the bees that made it humming in fields beyond the walls, flowers bending beneath their weight, summer skies vast and blue. That season has long fled, yet here its essence lingers, sealed in glass, waiting for a winter's hand to break the wax and set it free. And all the while as you move slowly through the storeroom, the castle seems to watch, not with eyes, but with the patient, steady presence of stone and timber and shadow. It does not hurry you. It does not press. It simply holds the silence like a bowl holds water, offering it to you, letting you drink as deeply as you will. You breathe it in, and it fills you, smoothing the edges of thought, softening the weight of time, until there is nothing but this moment, this hush, this sense of being cradled in something vast and enduring. At last you turn again, and your steps lead you back the way you came, through the narrow passage where moonlight lies like a fallen ribbon, through the buttery with its scent of casks and cool stone, along the corridor that curves like a sleeping serpent through the deep places of the castle. The kitchen lies ahead, its doorway a faint glow in the dark, a promise of warmth and stillness and the slow dance of flames. You pass beneath its lintel, and at once the air shifts, growing softer, warmer, scented once more with smoke and herbs and the lingering sweetness of bread. The fire greets you with a low crackle, its coals pulsing gently like the breath of some old creature dreaming on the hearth. You cross the room, your steps soundless now, and sink once more onto the stool by the long table, the wood cool beneath your hands, the warmth of the fire kissing your face. You sit there, and the hush folds around you deep and unbroken, and the castle settles into its sleep once more. The warmth of the hearth gathers you in like a familiar cloak. You feel it slowly smoothing away the last traces of the corridor's coolness, soft as breath upon your skin. The fire speaks in low tones, a language of embers and ash, its voice patient, never urgent, its rhythm like the slow tide that laps upon a hidden shore. The logs shift now and then, sending up a small sigh, a tiny crack, a thread of orange light that curls like a thought before vanishing into the dark above the chimney arch. You watch it for a time, eyes following its rise and its gentle fade, and in that simple motion, the whole world seems to breathe with you, slowly, deeply, without haste, without weight. Around you, the kitchen waits in perfect composure, as though it has always known that night would bring you back here. The shelves stand in their ordered rows, the jars and bowls wearing their quietness like crowns, their stillness almost regal. The table rests in the hush, its surface smooth and pale beneath the scatter of soft firelight. Shadows pool in the corners, calm and untroubled, gathering like cats curling into sleep. The hanging herbs sway the smallest fraction as a draught moves through, a breath of coolness slipping in from some unseen crack in the old stones. Their scent, faint and dry, mingles with the warmth of the fire, with the lingering echo of bread, with the quiet, resinous sweetness of wood smoke. You rest your arms upon the table and let your gaze wander, not with searching, but with the soft drift of a leaf upon water. It touches here, where a wooden spoon lies like a small forgotten tale. There, where a single copper pot leans against the wall, its belly holding a muted gleam, as though a star once fell and came to rest within its curve. Each thing you see feels steeped in time, steeped in quiet purpose, yet free of burden. Nothing here hurries. Nothing strains. Even the fire, though it moves, though it shifts and speaks in its murmuring tongue, holds a center of calm that does not waver. Outside, far beyond these walls, the night lies deep upon the castle grounds. Perhaps a wind moves across the battlements now and then, its voice a distant sigh, too far to reach your ears, too soft to trouble these thick stones. Perhaps the moon rides high, its pale light washing the towers in silver, its glow caught in the black glass of the moat. Or perhaps clouds drift heavy with the memory of rain, drawing veils across the sky. You do not know. You do not need to know. The world beyond has fallen away, and only this remains, the hush, the warmth, the quiet breath of old stones, holding you as gently as a cradle. You rise once more, but only to move nearer to the fire, as though its pulse calls to you in some wordless way. You kneel upon the hearthstone and reach for the poker, its iron cool against your fingers. With slow care, you ease the logs, settling them so they burn more sweetly, their edges glowing, their centers sighing out a small rain of sparks that drift and fade like fireflies in some deep summer wood. The sound of them is soft, almost like rain upon leaves, but slower, softer, more secret. You lay the poker aside and rest your hands upon your knees, watching the flames draw themselves upward in slender threads, their tips flickering like candle flames caught in a wandering breath. They cast their light upon the stones, upon your hands, upon the low black arch of the chimney, so that all seems woven from gold and shadow, from warmth and night. Time loosens its grip. It does not vanish, it simply unravels, thread by thread, until nothing binds you to its measure. You could be here for an hour, or for the space between two heartbeats. It does not matter. The kitchen does not mark the passing of moments. The castle does not reckon the turning of clocks. They hold you in a deeper rhythm, one that beats in silence, in stillness, in the very marrow of the stones. You breathe to that rhythm now, slow and full, as though each breath were drawn from the deep well of the earth itself. In dot, 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 and out. The sound is small, barely more than a whisper, but it fills you, it steadies you, it gathers you like water gathering light. You let your gaze slip from the fire at last, though its glow lingers on your skin, and you look about the hearth, the great curve of stone worn smooth by centuries of hands and knees, the dark iron grate that holds the burning logs, the scattering of ash like pale dust upon the flagstones. There is a small stool here, close enough that the fire's warmth can rest upon you like a shawl. You sit upon it, the wood solid beneath you, the air soft against your face. Above, a kettle hangs from a hook, its iron belly blackened, its surface breathing a faint warmth where the heat has kissed it. Once, perhaps, it sang with the voice of boiling water, but now it rests, as all things rest, in the deep cradle of the night. You close your eyes, not tightly, just enough to let the glow of the flames fall inward, soft and dim, like lamplight seen through gauze. You hear the fire's murmur, low and constant, like a voice telling an endless story in a language older than words. You hear the faint creak of timbers high above, the slow settling of the castle's bones as it dreams in its own fathomless sleep. Now and then, from far off, comes a sound like a sigh, a draught wandering through an empty corridor, or perhaps only the castle breathing deep and slow. These sounds do not break the hush. They deepen it, they weave it richer, like threads of shadow drawn through cloth. Your thoughts drift light as thistle down. They touch upon small things, the gleam of the copper pot, the hush of the buttery, the pale ribbon of moonlight upon the stone. They touch, and then they lift away, leaving only the soft echo, the gentle warmth, the sense of being held. You are not alone here, yet there is no one beside you. The castle is your companion. The fire is your friend. The silence itself is a presence, tender and unbroken, wrapping you round as though the night has drawn you into its secret heart. You feel the weight of your body easing, the slow fall of your shoulders, the quiet yielding of your hands. The stool beneath you might as well be cloud or water, or nothing at all. You are sinking, but not downward, only inward, sinking into a stillness so deep it feels like the earth opening to receive you. The fire hums on, steady as a lullaby, steady as the breath of sleep. The castle hums with it, its stones thrumming with the slow, unhurried pulse of ages. All things draw close in that hum, all things soften and fade until there is no hearth, no stool, no stone, period, no shadow, only warmth, only quiet, only the deep, tender dark. And in that dark, you drift. And in that drift, you dream. And in that dream, the castle keeps its vigil, steadfast and serene, as it has for centuries, as it will for centuries more. It watches, not with eyes, but with silence, with stillness, with the patient grace of things that endure. It holds you in that grace, and you rest. You rest as the fire rests, as the stones rest, as the night itself rests upon the sleeping earth. And in that rest, there is no before, no after, no thought, no word, only the soft unfolding of peace, like a petal in the dark, opening, opening, forever opening, until there is nothing, and in that nothing, everything. The castle sleeps, the fire breathes, and you sleep too, deeply.